Students, I welcome you to session 2 of form and movement in animals. In the previous session we discussed about the introduction to animals and different types of movements in various animals. As we know that animals need to move to search for food, water, shelter, and also to escape from predators, and they move in different ways. Some walk, some fly, some swim through water, some hop, some crawl, some climb, etc. So there are many ways in which animals show movement, and the way an animal moves is linked with its body structure. So this was what we discussed in the previous session. So in today's session we will discuss about some animals like cockroach and earthworm. So we will discuss about the movement in both these animals. Right, so we will start with today's session with movement in cockroach. So I welcome you to Learner's Planet, and let us start with today's session. Now students, have you ever caught a glimpse of a cockroach scurrying across your kitchen floor? Well, by the time you manage to get your hands on the cockroach repellent, the cockroach would have disappeared. Not surprising really, considering you are dealing with one of the greatest escape artists in the insect kingdom, and that is cockroach. Yes, cockroaches for short are adapted at wriggling out of tight spots. Whether it is a frog lurking behind a bush or a descending broom, these creatures have an ability to sense danger. That's how they have survived on Earth for the past 320 million years. Now you will be very amazed to know that there are about 3,500 known species of cockroaches found worldwide. Yes, even in North and South Poles. And of these, only 30 species have an inclination to live with these types of surrounding where people live. But how do they sense danger? What do they have? Do they have something like a sixth sense like us? So let us have a look at it, and let us learn more about movement in cockroach. Yes, first of all we should know that of what a cockroach's body is made up of. Yes, the body of a cockroach is covered with a hard outer skeleton, and they also have other features too. Like we discussed that the body of a cockroach is covered with a hard outer skeleton. And here you can see these two, they are antennae of the cockroach. Then these are the wings. Here you can see this, the flaps, right? These are the wings. Here are the legs. These are legs of the cockroach, and here you can see the small one. These small ones are the cerci. So how can we define all these terms? We know about legs, wings, but what are antennae and cerci in a cockroach? Let us have a look at it. Yes, cockroaches have a pair of antennae that help them to smell things. So they can sense danger with the help of antennae. And they also have a pair of cerci that can detect the slightest of movements and warn them of any danger from behind. So these are the features or the characteristics of a cockroach. And They all help them in movement, not the antenna, but their legs. So what can we say about cockroaches? Yes, though cockroaches have two pairs of wings, they can only fly short distances. They cannot fly like birds. However, they are able to run and climb very fast across a variety of surfaces. As we discussed, that they are very fast, they escape very fast, and cockroaches walk in a very interesting manner, moving 3 legs at a time. Here you can see a picture, beautiful picture of a cockroach. It has antenna, then it has a pair of cerci. Here you can see the cerci. Then here are their legs, 3 legs. So like all insects, cockroaches have 3 pairs of legs. So this is a very interesting manner of cockroaches, that they walk moving 3 legs at a time. So this is how they sense the danger, with the help of their antenna. A recent study by the scientists, carried out by scientists, showed that cockroaches use something more tangible to detect danger, that is their hair. So according to scientists, tiny hairs are present on the cockroach's back, which act as sensors, and they are designed to bend easily. And these hairs are oriented in all the possible directions, and they can sense changes in the wind movement from all the sides. So we can say that cockroaches are very, very sensitive to minute changes in air movements. Even subtle shifts in wind patterns can bend the hair in a particular direction. So this signal is sent to their nerve cells. We know that nerve cells are performing such functions. So these cells process the information and guide the cockroach to take action, and all this takes place almost instantaneously, in a fraction of a second. So the cockroach differentiates between regular wind patterns and kind of slow moving air that signals the approach of an attacker. Even normal wind flow creates mixed up swirl patterns, and however the movement of a foot or the approach of any animal or a human being generates a smoother, slower wind pattern. For example, the moment you take aim with a shoe from behind a cockroach, the insect senses a slight change in the wind pattern from behind as the hair on its back is pushed forward. So it immediately darts off in the opposite direction. Right? So this is about the cockroach. Now let us see that what type of movement occurs in cockroach. Yes, here you can see some beautiful diagrams by which I will explain you the movement which takes place in the cockroach. So here you can see the green dots and the red dots. Now what is it? What are they made for? Yes, here the green dots are the legs in the first picture. And this is the second picture. So in the first picture, green dots are the legs which move forward, while the red dots are the legs which remain on the ground. So these legs remain on the ground, and these legs move forward. So just imagine that this is a cockroach and its movement is taking place like this. The green dots, the legs, will move forward, while the red ones, the red dots, will remain. Now here in first picture, the green dots are the legs which will move forward, and the red dots are the legs which will remain on ground. Now observe the second picture. In second picture, what you can see? Yes, these are the red dots. The red dots are the legs which will move forward. In first picture, the red dots were the legs which remain on the ground. But in second picture, the red dots are the legs which will move forward now. And the green dots are the legs which remain on the ground. Right? These green dots are the legs which remain on ground. In the first picture, the green dots were the legs which move forward. But in second picture, the green dots are the legs which remain on ground. So this is the opposite. So this movement is repeated again and again, and in this way the movement takes place in cockroach. Right? Just assume that this is a cockroach. These are the legs of the cockroach and they are moving in this way. Whatever happens in the first picture is the opposite which happens in the second picture. Right? In second picture, in first picture, the red dots are the legs which remain on ground, but in second picture, the red dots are the legs which move forward. So this is just the opposite. In this way, the movement takes place, and that is why we say that cockroaches walk in a very interesting manner. They move their three legs at a time, and this movement takes place in a fraction of a second, right? Not even in a fraction of a second, but we can say in just few seconds. And this movement is repeated and it goes on. So this is about movement in cockroach. Now there are some amazing facts about cockroach which I would like to share with you. Do you know, students, that cockroaches have white blood? They are not like us. We have red blood. Human beings have red blood, but cockroaches have white color blood. Cockroaches primarily come out for water, not for food. So here I will write it for you. Cockroaches have white blood. There are other facts, amazing facts also, like cockroaches can live a month without food but only a week without water. So water is very much important or useful for cockroach. They primarily come out for water but not for food. A cockroach can live a week without a head. It dies after a week due to lack of water. Even a cockroach that has just shed its skin is white and has black eyes. So it takes 8 hours to reproduce the skin layer. Even the laboratory female cockroaches are able to reproduce with the help of a male. They produce all female offsprings, all female babies. We cannot say babies, but the offsprings. The largest cockroach in the world is the largest body, that is weighing in at up to 50 grams. Even most cockroaches have ability to fly. They have the ability to fly, but not all of them. But not all of cockroaches have the ability to fly. There are some. Even cockroaches thrive in all conditions and they can live in desert as well as in Arctic region. So they can thrive in all the conditions. Even crushed cockroaches, when applied to a wound, can help ease the sting. by any animal or by a cockroach. Even fried cockroaches are common snacks in some places, as are spiders and rats. So these are some of the very amazing and interesting facts about cockroaches. Right? Now let us move on to other topic. Yes, movement in earthworm. So we studied about movement in cockroach. Now let us study about movement in earthworm. Yes, earthworm. An earthworm is an invertebrate. Means it is an animal that this earthworm does not have a skeleton. So we can say that earthworms are invertebrates, which means that they do not have a backbone. They do not have a backbone, right? It is not that they do not have a skeleton, but they do not have a backbone. In fact, they do not have any kind of bones, legs, eyes or teeth. They feel wet, slimy and squishy. So, an earthworm has a long tube-like body. Here you can see in this picture. Earthworm has a long tube-like body. It has no bones. What else? Yes. Its body shape is maintained by the fluid present inside its body, just like that of a water-filled balloon. Here you can see. Right? It is actually looking like a spongy one or squishy one because its body shape is maintained by the fluid which is present inside its body. So it has just a water-filled balloon like body. So here you can see that they have a very beautiful body, and these are the segments of the earthworm's body. So let us discuss about it. Yes, an earthworm's body is made up of several parts called segments. What I said right now. Right? These are the segments of an earthworm's body. And it moves by lengthening and shortening these segments. So what it does, that it extends the front part of the body, keeping the rear end fixed to the ground. And then it fixes the front part and pulls the rear end. So we will discuss about the movement in earthworm. What do they have? Yes, this is the movement in earthworm. But before discussing it, I would like to tell more about earthworms. We know that earthworms do not have legs, but they do have muscles. So they have muscles that circle their body and muscles that go from one end to the other. So using their muscles, earthworms crawl by lengthening its front part and pushing forward through the soil. Notice how skinny the worm looks when its front end moves forward. And working together, these muscles move part of the worm forward. When this is happening, the tiny bristles which are present over here, tiny bristles on the underside of the worm hold the rear part of the worm in place. Once the front part has pushed forward, the front segment or the front bristle, tiny bristle, hold the worm in place and the rear bristles turn loose. Now the worm is in position to pull its rear end forward. And you can notice how fat the rear end becomes as the worm's muscles relax and contract. So the rings of the earthworm expands and contracts much like the coils of a different animal. So earthworms are an organism which has been able to survive for millions of years due to the fact that they have been able to adapt to their surroundings in order to survive. So adaptation is an alternation or adjustment by which a species or individual earthworm improves its condition in relationship to its environment. So earthworms have adapted in many ways over the past generations in order to improve reproduction, to get food, and to improve their defenses. So here, earthworms live in moist soil which contains organic matter. Earthworms do not have eyes or ears, but they have a mouth and they are sensitive to heat, light, and touch. And this adaptation is important to the survival of the earthworm. So, this is about the movement of the earthworm. Its movement can be compared with that of a spring. Its body secretes a slimy substance to help in movement. Here is its head and here are the bristles. So the segments have tiny hair-like bristles which help the earthworm to grip the surface and pull its body forward. So in this way it moves its body. Once the front part has moved forward or pushed forward, the front tiny bristles, they will hold the worm in place, and the rear bristles, they will turn loose, and finally they will move forward. So it moves by lengthening and shortening these segments. It extends the front part of the body, keeping the rear end fixed to the ground, and then it fixes the front part and pulls the rear end. So here is the third one, the third position. You can see it is moving forward. In the first position, you have seen that it was here. This earthworm was here. Then it moved forward, and then finally in third stage, here you can see the third picture, it has moved forward finally by lengthening and shortening the segments. So in this way it moves. There are other facts, there is other information about earthworms too, which I would like to share. Yes, in winter season the earthworm travels deep in the soil to avoid the frost, and in the summer, hot summer, the worm also travels deep into the soil in order to avoid dehydration. So during the night, an earthworm surfaces to let off their castings, their excretas. So here is what the movement is. The earthworm moves by stretching its front section through the soil and then pulling its hind section up. This is its hind section and this is its front section. So the earthworm has two kinds of muscles that it uses to move, and these muscles run along the length of the body and can shorten or lengthen the worm. And these are tiny bristles which cover the body of the worm and enable the worm to grip the soil as it passes through. As we know that earthworms are the farmer's friend. That is why I am discussing about it, this tiny bristles cover the body of the worm and they enable the worm to grip the soil as it passes through. So this really helps the worm to move through the soil quickly without slipping. Even there is more efficient movement, like living on land brings several problems. When you live in the ocean or fresh water like an octopus or jellyfish, moving isn't much a problem. Specifically, gravity isn't such a big issue. But when you're on land, you got to move, you got to get to food, you got to hide from predators, you got to find other worms to reproduce. So these are the earthworms which are able to move around by contracting their little segments. They have these segments and the hairs on each segment. So they are able to move through the soil easier. and they help other worms grip these segments, and these bristles help other worms like tube worms to grip their inside of their tubes so that they can move in and out more efficiently. Right? So this is about earthworm. Its body secretes a slimy substance to help in the movement, and the segments also have tiny hair-like bristles which help the earthworm to grip the surface and pull its body forward. Right? So remember that when you look at all the creatures of the world, remember this, it's all about efficiency. That's what helps you, your species and your world survive. If you are a parasite and you kill your host before you reproduce, you're out of the luck. It's not efficient. You have an advantage when you are efficient. That advantage is what makes life easier for you and also for an animal. And if you can pass that advantage on to the generations, so much the better is life. Right? So this is all about the human beings, us, and also about the animals. So in today's session we learned about movement in cockroach and earthworm, and I hope you liked this session. In the next session we will continue this topic of movement in other animals too. Till then, keep enjoying.